Hi there folks, welcome back to the Ever and Only Fishing channel. I hope you're doing really well, and this is going to be the second in the 5-part series on how to tie my 5 favourite grayling flies. The 5 grayling flies that I probably use the most out of all the different options in my fly box. Now, first thing I need to do here is apologise for the really clickbaity title on this post. I mean, anyone who's clicked on this has probably already encountered the Duracell Jig before. It's an absolutely brilliant fly, a stroke of genius. It's designed by a chap in Scotland called Craig McDonald, who I talked to quite a lot. And I remember the first time I saw that fly, I just thought, this is brilliant. This has got all the stuff that trout and grayling would want out of a nymph. It's super buggy, it's a great colour, it's got all the movement from that CDC collar, it's got that fairly natural looking silver bead, it's just got all the good stuff. And sure enough, they work like a treat, and ever since it came out, ever since I first saw them, there has always been, wherever I've been in the world trout fishing, there's always been Duracell nymphs in the fly box. Over time though, I did develop one issue with it, which is why I've come up with this particular version of the fly, in that because it uses such a large amount of this stuff, the UV eye stub in the brown, you'll recognise that colour. I'm not a massive fan of dubbing because it's resistant to sinking. I always kind of feel that we start at this point with a hook and a bead. Basically anything that we add on there, particularly anything that's fluffy, is stopping that fly from sinking as quickly as it can do. And for me, that was always a particular problem. I always feel like the kind of fully dubbed body version of the Duracell, I just feel like the fly I've got here sinks faster than that. It doesn't lose any of the colour or any of the flash or any of that stuff, but I think it sinks a lot quicker. So I think what we'll do is we'll crack straight on. So first thing here is we've got a fully mill jig force in a size 12, and there's a 4mm bead on there. In truth, I don't use this fly that much in this size. It makes quite a nice point fly. I don't use it that much in this size, but in terms of just making a vlog, it's going to look pretty nice. And there's a 4mm silver bead on there. Thread, I'm going to use the 120 Vivus pink. Now the pink might seem a little bit weird, but actually it'll start to make sense. The material I'm going to use for the body on this does let a little bit of the colour of the thread through, and I found that if I used a very dark thread, then end up with a very dark looking fly, and that's not what we want. We want some colour and want some flash out of this. So first thing I'm going to do, just as ever, I'm just going to secure that bead on there a little bit. I'm not going to use any glue today. No, I'll be honest with you, the reason I'm not using any glue today is because my tube of Zap has totally seized up. So we'll just secure that on there. Usually at this point I would dab a little bit of super glue on there, but I'm not going to do this time. And I'm just going to make, just on this end third, a slight taper, not too much, and you'll see there I haven't gone right the way back to the bead. I've left myself that little area there just so I've got somewhere to play with when I'm doing whip finishes and stuff like that. First step with this one, Coq de Leon for the tail. No options at all. I mean, it's just the for me it's the best tail material. It's really nice, it's durable, it looks great, and I'm going to use a fair old chunk. There's probably 8 fibres there. It's quite a big fly, it's a size 12, so 8 fibres. It's not too much. I want these fibres to stick out probably 2/3 of the shank length over the bend, so get that lined up. Pinch that on there and just have a quick look. That looks about right straight away. Actually, yeah, I'm happy with that, so cut the spare ends off. This one. There we go. So next step, again, absolute standard for the Duracell. This is 0.14mm Hens wire in the red colour. Anyone who's used a Duracell will recognise that red wire. So we'll tie that in. And at this point we'd go down the body and we would dub back up with all that eye stub. But as I say, I'm avoiding that because I feel like it just resists sinking too much on a slightly narrower profile than that, slightly more compact profile. What I found is this stuff. It's called Nymph, and I got this from Funky Fly Time. And this is the number 14 UV chestnut. And it is an absolutely fantastic colour and a pretty close dead ringer for the UV eye stub in the brown. It's kind of a flat braid. You can see there, you might be able to see it's braided. There's some UV woven in there as well. It looks absolutely beautiful, and actually once it's kind of on the fly, it looks very similar to the UV eye stub brown. So that's what we're going to use for the body. That's the real change on this. Tie that in. I'm going to tie all 3 of those right down to just above the end of the hook. Okay, then we'll get the thread out of there. Sorry about the edit there, folks, there was a knock at the door. So I'm going to take this nymph back up the shank of the hook, up the body, nice tight touching turns. You'll notice as I go up, a little bit of the colour of that thread will shine through underneath the nymph, and some of the turns might not be touching. It doesn't bother me that much. If you're really anal about it, you can take more time. So I can see there's a little gap in between some of these turns, but it's not the end of the world. You've still got that effect with the UV, you've still got that kind of chestnut flash, but you can see it's so much thinner and so much more compact than a normal Duracell jig body would be. So we'll get that up there, 2 over the top that way, 2 over the top that way, and we'll cut that off. I ought to mention at this point actually, all the materials for this fly will be listed in the description box below the video, so if you want to pick up any new materials to tie this one, they're all in there. So the next step is taking that red wire right the way back up to the thorax. Nice even turns. There are definitely some spaces in the turns of nymph there. I can see there's quite a lot of pink shining through on this one, and if I'd used a very dark thread, we would have created a very dark fly. That's not really what we want. Right. Set that on there, give that wire a twist, snap it off, there we go. And you can see there, we've got a nice thin body. Still got all that UV, still got all that flash and stuff, but it's much more compact, it's much sinkier, it's much denser, whatever that word is, it's much more of that. At this point, I am going to use a little bit of the UV eye stub. Just a tiny pinch. All I want to do is just create a little bump of dubbing. That's all I'm doing at this point, just a tiny little bump, just at the back of that thorax there. So we go 1. Not quite enough. Let's try that again. That'll do us. Apologise for whacking the microphone. So all I've done there is just make a little bump with that UV eye stub up against which the CDC hackle of this fly is going to sit, because just like the normal Duracell jig, it's going to have that CDC hackle. So we've got a packet of natural Polish CDC here. Pretty regular stuff. It's not massively high quality, but it's good enough for tying hackles on nymphs. You see, I've already got half a feather here that's been used. So all I'm going to do is going to scrape those fibres back. And I'm going to go in with this little tool. This is a Stonfo hair clip. It's kind of like the Petitjean thing, it's just a bit more straightforward. It's like a see-through bulldog clip. I'm just going to catch the fibres in like that. So you can see that the feather is caught in. You can see inside the clear bit, all the fibres are sticking out. I'm just going to cut along the stem. You see there, that's left me with some little fibres sticking out that I can catch in with the thread. Now while I've been doing that, the thread has been spinning away and will actually by this point have unwound itself to the point where it's quite easy to split. So I'm going to split this thread with a dubbing needle, nice and evenly straight down the middle, there we go. And into that split thread, I'm going to feed the ends of these fibres. They're caught in nicely. Actually, they weren't caught in that nicely. I've made a little bit of a hack job of that. There we go. A few turns around. I don't want loads of hackle. You know, I sometimes think that people overdo it with CD hackle on these flies. Just a few turns. You know, these insects haven't got 1,000,001 legs. And at that, it looks a bit of a mess, doesn't it? That looks like it's all over the place. But just by pulling those fibres back, catch them all. 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden That looks about right. I'm happy with that. I don't want any more fibres than that, because otherwise they just end up clogging each other up and they don't move properly. So at this point the fly is very nearly done. All I'm going to do is go back in with some more of the UV brown ice dub. Dub a little bit more onto that thread. I don't like working with this stuff particularly, it's very coarse. Couple of winds around there just to cover up the worst of that pink thread. And that basically is fly done. That's it. It's a nice neat whip finish on there. 1, 2, 3. Again, I would apply glue at this point if I had any. Pull that down. Snip that off nice and close. And that right there is my version of the Duracell fly, the Duracell Jig. So much slimmer in the body profile than the regular Duracell, but because of that Nymph material, it hasn't lost any of that UV sparkle. You know, I haven't taken any of the other stuff out there that makes that Duracell work. So for me, personally, in terms of getting down and getting in the zone, it's an improvement on the original. It's not as thick, it's perhaps not as buggy as the original, but it does the stuff that I want it to do. Folks, really hope you've enjoyed this one. As I say, it's a little bit of a clickbaity title. The original Duracell is a brilliant fly. Me and Craig have spoken about this a lot recently. It's a great fly. If you want something that sinks a little bit faster, this Nymph material in the number 14 chestnut is absolutely perfect as a substitute. Let us know in the comments what you think of the fly. Let us know if you try and tie your own. That'd be really nice if we can find out how you guys get on with the fly. And we'll be back very soon with some more fly tying and hopefully a little bit of fishing if it ever stops raining. But thank you very much for watching, folks, and we'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.